Hello everyone, my name is Kenneth, and to continue our video series on network documentation for newbies. So let's get into our slide. So today we're looking at tools of the trade. What do we mean by these tools that we would typically be using when we are documenting our network? That is picking your documentation stack, right? So the first thing we are going to be taking a look at is spreadsheets. So spreadsheets aren't dead, but there are better ways, obviously, to do things. When you're collecting data that goes in tables, data like VLAN assignments, IP addresses, subnets, port mapping, device inventory, and things like this, you find out that spreadsheets and tabular forms of data would usually come in handy at such points. But you have a couple of pros and cons that come with spreadsheets as well. Some of the pros about spreadsheets is that it's universal and compatible with various platforms. It's quick to build. You can fire up a spreadsheet at any point in time. Low skill requirements, very low skill requirement. Anyone can use a spreadsheet. Next one is cost effective. You can get it freely on Microsoft, on Google as Google Sheets, and you can also get it on LibreOffice. So it is easily obtainable. Another one is adaptable to collect any type of data you want to collect. Then we have also, you can search and filter using a spreadsheet. But you have some disadvantages you find with spreadsheet, especially when it comes to documenting things that are live, things that will change or would be modified in the future. You see, it's easy to break. Another one is hard to scale. When your network starts evolving, things, new subnets, new locations, new sites, you find out that it might be hard to scale. Limited structure, right? Version conflicts when you have multiple versions of the same table or the same sheet. And then and down is manual overhead. It's manual, it's very manual. So when you're documenting networks that are not large, networks that are medium sized to small networks, spreadsheets can be perfect. But if you're documenting larger networks that would span multiple locations, geographical locations, and multiple large devices, you might need to uh, consider another alternative. Next thing we're going to be looking at is diagramming tools rather. So I've said seeing is believing, right? So diagramming tools are really important because by the time you just set your eyes on the diagram, you already know what that network is about or what that architecture is about. So you can, with diagramming tools, the key things that you can achieve with diagramming tools are to create a topology, VLAN, rack diagrams. Some tools that you find free would include draw.io. We is an open source tool. It also has a web version that you can use freely. Lucid Chart, which is very popular in using for UI UX diagrams. And then we have also Packet Tracer. Packet Tracer is not really a diagramming tool, but you can use it just to, make a diagram or a topology of your network. I find it very intuitive, especially, and I find I find that it helps me more than using just diagramming tools, right? You can use various devices within Packet Tracer to represent what you're trying to communicate in your diagram. Next one is IP address and IP address management, right? Your subnet spreadsheets could be a mess, so we should fix that, right? IP address management tools are software solutions that help in managing IP address spaces, including tracking, allocation, monitoring of IP addresses, right? Uh, IP addresses, devices, rack, and connections and cables can be managed using IP and IPAM tools, right? Uh, Usually for medium to large networks, right? Especially if you don't have, your organization does not have the budget to acquire new software or to purchase new software, you might just want to steer off using some tools, or if there's a free open source version of it, then obviously you can use that. But it's usually for medium to large scale networks, right? Structured and uses a relational database, obviously, uh, because you're collecting data regarding tools, regarding IP addresses, regarding devices, regarding subnets and devices, right? So it uses a relational database so that all these entities and attributes of all of these things you're collecting can be stored effectively and can be queried effectively as well. You can have a manual versus an automated version of IP address management tools, right? Manual version in the sense that you enter all the IPs yourself, manage it, and all of that. While the automated versions where you can scan, use APIs or scripts to add IP addresses and add devices and all of that to your IPAM tool. The next thing we're going to be looking at is assets and devices. So when it is time for IT asset management, you're documenting assets, devices in your network environment. So this is essential for visibility, maintenance, compliance, and troubleshooting as well. So choose a centralized system. There are a number of systems. There are whole lots of systems out there that you can use for asset and device management, right? So a couple of them that I know of is GLPI, ITOP, Landsweeper, Snap IT. We have Fresh Service. We have a solution from Fresh Service as well. So there's a whole lot of them that you can use to, um, you know, manage your devices. There are core fields that you have to track when you're managing assets and devices, right? So things like the asset name, the serial number, the MAC address of the device, the status of the device, whether it's active, whether it's the device is deployed or in storage or not, whether the device is end of life, whether the device is still being updated and still being used. All of that you have to track very important fields within about your device, right? Next one is a method of population. There are a number of ways that you can populate your asset management tools, which one is manual, you have auto, you have script, and you have QR codes. Manual in the sense that you enter all the information yourself. You have automatic where you can use APIs and all of that to update your database in your asset management tool. You can also use QR codes by scanning the device QR code and they go into your asset management software. Next, we'll look at configuration change and versioning, right? So in networking and IT environments, configuration firmware, configuration changes are managed and documented using a mix of tools, practices, and processes designed to ensure consistency and accountability and recoverability as well. So there are a number of ways that you can, manage your configurations and the versions of your firmwares and things like this, right? Most of the vendors will also tell you how to manage these things, but you have to have a method in your organization that is preferred, right? So there are manual methods, obviously. There are automated tools as well that you can use to do these backups. You'll also ensure that you're doing version control. So version control, if you've moved from one version of the iOS to a higher version, or from a vulnerable version to a secure version, you have to have those documented why you moved from each version, right? So there are templates and standards as well. So there are production templates, backup templates, and baseline and golden templates. So these templates are probably templates that you would need for your configuration. So you have a production template, which is the template configuration template that your operational devices are using. These are devices that are in production that are being used, right? So there's also a backup template that you can fall back to. Maybe you've moved to the latest version that the OEM has introduced and everything breaks. So you have to have the backup, right, of the previous version that you were on in a good location where that you so that you can revert to those backups and ensure that production and operation keeps running uninterrupted. So you have to have that production, you have to have that backup, and then you have to have your baseline. Your baseline your baseline configuration is the configuration that has the most minimal settings, right? Most minimal settings, most minimal security settings. Everything has been done at the basic level. This is usually used to onboard new devices. So when you get a new device out of the box, those baseline settings have to be there. Things like your SSH, how do you manage SSH, how transport inputs, what are you allowing for VTY lines, switch port security, things like VLANs, um, those basic security and basic administrative settings. That's your baseline setting. They have to, you have to have a configuration for that as well that is saved and secure. Then firmware management, just the same way you're going to manage your configuration, that's the same way you're going to manage your firmware. If a new firmware is released, you have to have the previous firmware, and when you've moved to the new firmware, if everything breaks, you have to know how to roll back to the previous firmware. So all the locations where these firmwares are stored, these configurations are stored, you have to have that documented so that everyone who needs to know the location of these files know where they are, right? Yeah, because if you're running a shift-based role, or if you're running a role whereby you get to be physically there or remotely there, sometimes when you're not there and someone else is there, whoever is there needs to have the same level of information you had leaving, that position or that particular shift, right? So that if anything breaks, they know how to roll back, roll forward, or do whatever they need to do. Then some of the tools that you would usually find that are used for versioning, change management, and all of that, there are things like SSH, obviously, Git, syslog, Ansible, Puppet, Rancid, and Oxidize. So you use these to usually back up, um, version your firmware, your iOS, your configuration, and things like that. So we'll move on to the next. Documenting vendors and service providers. It is so important to document vendors and service providers, right? It is so important. Imagine that you have a junior tech on your shift and an ISP circuit goes down and you just have one surviving ISP circuit, right? That's a very dangerous place to be, right? The junior tech needs to know who to call and what emails to send, what email address to communicate with, right? About what has happened. So if an ISP circuit fails, who is the service provider? What is their contact address? What is their service level agreement with you? The junior tech needs to know where to access this information as quickly as possible. So documenting vendors and service providers is just as critical as tracking hardware, right? And configuration, especially for procurement, support, budgeting, and incident escalation, especially incident escalation. Now we have CMDB tools like ServiceNow, Netbox, iTop can store vendor information. So you can use this to store vendor information. And that one is IT service management, procurement portals. Many IT service providers include vendor fields. So ITSM tools also, some of them would include the vendor fields, right? Now you have shared docs or wikis. So shared docs and wikis are documents that you can create that anyone within your team or your organization can access. So for instance, you can have things like a document that has information about all your vendors, their contact details, email addresses, and what service it is that they provide. So that when something fails, your junior tech would easily navigate to that document, call the number, send an email, or whatever it is, right? Now, we also have spreadsheets can help you achieve this as well. So it's important to document your vendors and your service providers. Wikis, knowledge bases, and I can't seem to say it correctly. Wikis, knowledge bases, and pages, right? So documenting and sharing internal knowledge is essential in IT and networking, and wikis, knowledge bases, and pages are powerful tools for this. So you have technical documentations, troubleshooting guides, operational procedures, administrative information, common platforms that you can use to document all these things. These are things that you need to document. So all these technical documents, how you've allocated IP addresses, how your network is structured, things like all these network documents, processes, operational procedures, and all of this. need to be documented. Now, common platforms where you can use to document these things are Notion, Confluence, SharePoint, Obsidian. Basically, anything with a page, a white background, and ability to write can help you document wikis, knowledge bases, and pages, right? Anything with a white background and the ability to write on, you will be able to do this. So from your Microsoft Word to Google Docs to LibreOffice to whatever it is, to Confluence, to SharePoint pages, you can use any of these to document um, knowledge and wikis and all of that. So just ensure that it is centrally accessible to those who need them and available when they need it. So that's basically it about this section. We've gone through how we can document the tools that we need to document various things, from spreadsheets to IPAM tools to IT service management tools to wikis, pages, and all of that. We are going to be going into the practicals, or the seeing actually how to use these things, right? So we're going to be seeing how to use these tools in the upcoming videos. So in the next video, we're going to do some practical on a specific area. We're going to continue like that till we round off this series. So as usual, please do like, subscribe, share, repost, and let me know if this video is helping you in any way. And as always, thank you for watching, and see you on the next one.